What's going on there, everyone? All right, so we got what I see as a very positive step in the right direction when it comes to groups like Antifa and such. These left-wing organizations that are actively um, causing terror. They really are. That's kind of what their goal is to just terrorize people into thinking what they think, which ain't gonna happen. Sure, you're gonna pick up some of the youths. You'll have that, or some like old-fashioned communist types. You'll have that also. But let's get into the story. Cruz Cassidy introduced resolution to take action against Antifa. Republican Senators Ted Cruz and Bill Cassidy introduced a resolution on Thursday calling for the far left extremist group Antifa to be formally labeled as a domestic terrorist organization. The resolution comes after a self-described member of Antifa attacked an Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility in Tacoma, Washington over the weekend. The resolution also comes after conservative journalist Andy Ngo was brutally attacked in Portland by an Antifa mob. We all got to see that. That was on film. We all got to see what happened there. And yes, it was disgusting. You could see the rhetoric, and everything has escalated so much. I mean, in 2017, the DHS considered Antifa, started considering them as a domestic terrorist organization. And it's only gotten worse. We're in 2019 now, and you could see where it was violent, unruly mobs busting up stuff, windows to businesses and stuff like that, setting trash cans on fire. And you can see the escalation went from that to throwing milkshakes, as we've seen, and stuff like that, to now actual violence where you're seeing Andy Ngo get attacked and that crazed lunatic firebombing an ICE facility. Alright. Back to the story. Antifa is a terrorist organization composed of hateful, intolerant radicals who pursue their extreme agenda through aggressive violence. Time and time again, their actions have demonstrated that their central purpose is to inflict harm on those who oppose their views, Cruz tweeted. Like any terrorist organization, they choose to pursue their political ends through violence, fear, and intimidation. They must be stopped. I'm proud to introduce this resolution with Senator Bill Cassidy to properly identify what Antifa are: domestic terrorists. Spot on. In a statement, Cassidy said, Antifa are terrorists, violent, masked bullies who fight fascism with actual fascism. Thank you. I love when they point out the hypocrisy. Protected by liberal privilege. Imagine that. Bullies get their way until someone says no. Elected officials must have courage, not cowardice, to prevent terror. Cassidy tweeted, Antifa is a domestic terror organization. This is a group of hateful, intolerant radicals pursuing their extreme agenda through violence. They are masked bigots, attacking others because they don't agree with their ideas. The time to stop Antifa is now. Which, also, spot on. Like I said, the escalation has gotten very, very bad very, very quickly. This is a very, very startling thing when a group like Antifa goes from, I can't even say they started as peaceful protests, because they really didn't start as peaceful protests, but they go from these crazed protests to actually attacking. You can see that this is a problem, and it's gonna get worse because you got outlets like Vox telling the left-wing radicals pretty much to arm themselves, this, that, and the other. They're inciting violence without actually inciting the violence. You know, it's a read between the line type of situation. You have, you know, everyone's favorite progressive Justice Democrats refusing to condemn them. They refuse. They just won't do it. It's insanity to me. It's insanity. The resolution, which mentions other incidents that Antifa has recently been involved in, calls for the groups and organizations across the country who act under the banner of Antifa to be designated as domestic terrorist organizations. The resolution also calls on the Senate to condemn Antifa's violence, express the need for peacefully communicating ideas, and calls on the federal government to redouble its efforts in combating all forms of domestic terrorism, including white supremacist terrorism. Which, spot on, and that's awesome. All that seems good. But you watch. This is going to show the difference in mindsets between the liberals and the conservatives. I guarantee you every single Republican is going to vote for this. I can't wait to see the Democrats who don't. That's going to be a very telling sign. Now, strategically, if they were smart, which we all know a lot of them on the left just aren't smart anymore. They don't seem to use common sense or logic of any type. They go with my feels. We're going to be able to see who supports this and who doesn't. And I got a feeling I know 4 liberal people that are not going to like this at all. I think you know which ones I'm talking about. But yeah, I think this is a step in the right direction. Is it going to completely solve the problem, even if it does get passed and all that? Probably not, because it says right there, the language is kind of clear that anybody under the banner of Antifa, well, what if they just change their name to something else or change their symbolisms to something else? Then, it's an uphill battle. Yes, I think this is a step in the right direction. Will it solve the problem? Probably not. But it'll give us a little bit of ground. Most likely, they'll put in the language to where there's grounds to hold these extremist activist type groups accountable for their actions. Like I said, I'm all for this resolution. I'm all for it. I don't know if it's going to help that much. And it really doesn't help, that we have the media and the left-wing politicians that they prop up Antifa. They help propagate the problem. Because Don Lemon was sitting there just praising Antifa. Saying, oh, but they're anti-fascists. It's right there in their name. It doesn't matter. No, how many times has he not ever seen like a front for something? You could the mafia used to do it all the time, where they'd have like a bakery, nice, beautiful bakery, but it was just a front for selling drugs and stuff or whatever, what have you. It was just a front. You can you can put a nice facade on something, but the actual structure is crumbling. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so maybe it's a positive step. Maybe it'll do nothing. I guess we're just going to have to kind of wait and see on this one. But I'd love to hear your comments on it, whether you agree or disagree. I always like to hear your comments, whether you're agreeing with what I'm saying or whether you disagree and think I'm just a country bumpkin idiot. That's fine too. That's your opinion. And by God, I don't care. Not at all. We're all allowed to have our opinions. And, well, unless you're an Antifa member, then you don't believe that anybody that opposes you should have an opinion or a voice, period. But as always, like, share, subscribe. I will catch you on the flip side.